On the record in the matter or matters of the people of the state of Michigan versus Cameron Kjar 24-03636, Letitia Clinton 24-03637, Dea Dennis 24-03639, and Kariah Parker 24-03638. Appearance, please.
Good morning, or good afternoon, Your Honor. Matt Nagel for the people.
Good afternoon, Mayor. Please, Honorable Court, Kareem Johnson on behalf of Mr. Kjar, who sits to my immediate right.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Joseph Yang on behalf of Ms. Dea Dennis, who is present to my right.
Attorney Luke Goodrich, representing Ms. Parker, who is standing to my right left.
Or David B. Third Jr. on behalf of Ms. Clinton, who is present and sitting to my left.
Okay, today was the date and time that we scheduled to continue with the preliminary examination. I believe we previously had testimony from Officer Christopher Clue and continue to have other officers appear today or other witnesses appear today. Are we ready to proceed?
The people are ready, Your Honor.
Any preliminary matters before we call witnesses?
Not the people.
Not for defense on behalf of Mr. Kjar, Your Honor.
On behalf of Ms. Dennis, just to renew the sequestration order. I'm not sure who may or may not be witnesses.
Sequestration is continued.
And none on behalf of Ms. Parker.
Thank you. You can call your witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The people call Malaysia Love.
Up there.
Yes, ma'am. Right here, you look at the judge. The judge is going to swear you in.
You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give us the truth and the whole truth under penalty of perjury.
Yes,
You can put your hand back up and keep it up until you give the oath. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give us the truth and the whole truth under penalty of perjury?
yes,
Okay, you can have a seat. There's a microphone that's in front of you, and the lady that's behind you is the court reporter. Her job is to take down everything that's stated in the courtroom today. And so I need your responses to be loud and clear. And although you are answering these attorneys' questions, your responses are for me. So you can even look this direction so that I can hear you, because there's a glass there. And so that may drown out some of the noise, okay?
mhm,
And is that a yes?
yes,
Okay, because we also need verbal responses because she can't write mhm down. We don't know what that means in the record. So
okay.
if you do, so because that's common, we'll ask you, is it
Oh,
a yes
yes,
or no?
ma'am.
Yep,
Okay.
okay, so you want your responses to be verbal, no head nods, no head shakes. If there's an objection from any of the attorneys, and there's about 5 here on the record in this case, you will hold your response, because I have to make a ruling on the objection and then give you a direction as to whether or not you're allowed to give the answer to their question or not, okay?
Okay.
State your first and last name and spell both.
Malaysia Love, MALAYSHA. Last name Love, LOVE.
Counsel?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Love, also, if we have to ask you just that a yes or something along those lines, don't feel like you're doing anything wrong. Again, we're just asking so that we can make sure the record is clear. You just tell us your story at your pace. Do you understand?
Mhm,
Is that a yes?
yes,
And that's good. Miss Love, do you live at 3822 Wilson Avenue?
no,
Who lives at that address?
my baby daddy.
Okay. What's your baby daddy's name?
Brea Simmons.
If I take you back to the date, December 10th, 2024. Did you live at the address on that date?
Yes,
Did you live at the address prior to that date?
yes.
For how long were you living at the address prior to that date?
I didn't hear it.
The witness hasn't answered.
Oh, okay.
I think in October.
Okay, so a
I'm
couple
not
of months
sure.
at least?
Yeah, I'm not sure what they doing.
That's okay. But you've been living there for a little while.
Yeah,
Okay. And I think you said that the way you shared a child with Mr. Sanders.
yes, I share 2 daughters with him.
Okay, so you, your 2 daughters, and Mr. Sanders resided together as a family at this address on December 10th of 2024.
Yes,
And that address, 3822 Wilson Avenue, is that in the city of Lansing, County of Hingham?
yes.
So I mentioned the date, December 10th, 2024. Do you remember that day, ma'am? Can you tell the court why you remember that date?
All of that stuff happens.
And when you say all of this stuff, what,
My baby daddy, them, and yeah, there's a lot going on. I guess.
and by them, you look like you've indicated the 4 defendants present. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Okay. So, and I think, now, see, the court doesn't know, so that's what we're here for, is to inform the court what's going on. But I think it's fair to sum up everything as a lot was going on, right?
yes,
So, and is it also fair to say that the events that happened on December 20, or excuse me, December 10th had its origin maybe the day before, December 9th?
like it continued.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, oh, yeah.
So let's back up just a little bit then for the court's context. Can you tell the court what happened the day before this?
Me and our baby daddy, well, we was going at it, I just got out the hospital, and I don't know, he was tripping, and then he stopped me, and we started fighting, and then his cousin was like trying to come in, well, I slammed him on the floor, and his cousin was trying to break it up, like, continue the process, and then I went crazy after.
So, so let me just, for points of clarification then, there was a physical altercation, that's what you're describing
Yeah.
right there?
It was, yes, it was a physical altercation between me and Brea.
And your baby daddy, correct?
Yes,
And what is his name for the record?
Brea Sanders.
Brea Sanders? Did anything happen to Mr. Sanders as a result of that altercation on the 9th?
Yes,
What happened to Mr. Sanders?
he was locked up.
He was locked up?
Yeah.
And is that because you called the police?
No, the police had was already coming, but I was about to call him anyway, so I think about just something. He was already gone, so and then we was fighting outside too, so the neighbors and stuff.
Okay. So Mr. Sanders was arrested then on December 9th, based on this altercation between
Yes.
you and him? Okay. Now, all right, so can you tell the court how that affected events on December 10th?
Obviously, they were mad.
Objection,
So-
speculation.
There's an objection. That's a speculation. Did you want to respond to the objection, counsel?
I was going to back up for a moment anyway.
Objection sustained.
So you're saying they were mad. Did somebody visit you that day?
The next day,
On December 10th, yes, ma'am.
yeah,
Did you know these people
yes, a little bit.
a little bit? Did you know them well enough that you could identify them by name?
Yes.
Could you
and
tell the court
probably most of them.
for most of them? Okay. Could you tell the court who showed up at your house on the 10th?
It was Kristen, Clinton, her, Dea,
Do you know Daya's last name by chance?
Dennis, I'm guessing,
It's okay if you don't, but if you do, Daya Dennis,
yeah. I
Okay.
guess,
anybody else?
I didn't know the other girl, I really don't.
That's okay. So Dea Dennis, you were able to identify that person by name. Do you see Dea Dennis in court today?
Yes,
Can you point to Miss Dennis and identify an article of clothing that she's wearing for the court, please?
wearing black jacket.
Okay, that's good enough. Your Honor, will the record reflect that the witness pointed at the defendant sitting at counsel table and identified the jacket worn by the defendant, Miss Dea Dennis?
Any objection?
If I understand that she's pointing, but some more descriptors, I guess, beyond just the color of the jacket. I think
She
that would
said
help.
she. At council table, there's only one female at the council table.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Identification is noted.
Thank you, Your Honor. And then you also identified, I'm sorry, forgive me, the other one you identified was it Miss Clinton? Is that right?
Yes.
And is that Letitia Clinton?
Mhm.
Do you
Is that a
see?
yes?
Yes,
Thank you, Your Honor. Do you see Miss Clinton in the court today?
yes.
Can you point to Miss Clinton and identify an article of clothing that Miss
A
Clinton
gray
is wearing?
jacket.
Your Honor, will the record reflect that the witness has pointed to the defendant seated in the jury box next to defense counsel and identified the gray jacket worn by the defendant, Letitia Clinton?
Any objection?
None.
So noted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Okay, was there anybody else that showed up on December 10th besides the two defendants that you've already identified?
Yes.
And is it safe to say you don't know them by name?
Okay.
Is that a no?
Yes,
Yes, that's a no.
yes.
I apologize. You're doing fine. Now, just because you couldn't identify them by name, do you think you would recognize those people if you saw them today?
Yes,
Do you see anybody else who showed up to your house on December 10th in the courtroom today?
yes.
Can you point to one of them and identify an article of clothing that they are wearing?
Her, the black puffer jacket.
Thank you, ma'am. Your Honor, for the record reflect the ID, I believe this is Ms. Parker.
Your Honor, I would, I guess, object to that certain identification. I guess she did point to my client as being somebody that was there, but she didn't actually identify who that person was.
Oh, okay, but she identified this person as a person who appeared at her residence on or about December 10th. It's not uncommon that you could be in a situation or a victim of a crime by someone you don't know their name. And so you're saying unless they know the person's name at the time that the crime is committed, that means identification is insufficient?
I believe it would be the situation, Your Honor. She hasn't been officially identified. Perhaps another witness would be able to identify who the person is.
Okay, well, she's been identified as the person who appeared to her house. We can have someone else identify her name. So for that purpose, it's noted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Was there anybody else besides the three you've already identified?
Yes,
And you see that person in the court today?
yes.
Can you point to that person once again and identify an article of clothing, please, now?
A black lady.
And finally, Your Honor, the record reflect that the witness has pointed to this young man at the end of counsel table in a black hoodie seated next to defense counsel.
For the same purpose or reasons, those will be noted that she identified this individual with the black hoodie as someone who appeared to her house. Someone else will identify them by name.
Thank you, Your Honor. Okay, so we've established that these four people that we have with us in court today were at your house on December 10th. Can you tell the court what you remember they did as opposed to maybe what they were thinking? Can you tell the court what they did?
They was coming here, kicking the door in. Sorry. Was kicking the door in. Mom was yelling. I don't know how to say this. I don't want to say it like, but like, I don't know.
It's okay. You just tell the court what
I'm
you
getting
remember.
irritated, like, I'm lucky. I'm starting to get irritated. Like,
Can you help me understand what you mean by getting irritated?
because he's like, he's talking about this over and over again. Like, I'm standing in front of all of them, and it's like, I'm not like holding my boyfriend.
Objection, relevance to this young.
I'm not even sure, I can't even hear what she's saying, really. She
But,
said, she said in front of all of them, and what happened?
Yes.
Listen,
I'm
what,
saying-
I gave you an instruction about what happens if there's an
Oh.
objection, so I need the attorney to work this out. She said she's,
Can you?
I'm not following, I couldn't hear what you were saying, but other than she's getting annoyed because she's in front of all of them.
I don't either, Your Honor.
Okay.
That's why I asked in case it's, I need to
Rephrase the question.
rephrase the
Okay,
question,
sounds
or if the defendant, or if the, excuse me, if the witness is, maybe needs a break. I
Okay.
just,
Absolutely. Let me just ask her a question. Ma'am, is it that you're getting frustrated now, or are you talking about you're getting you were frustrated then?
Can I speak?
Yes.
I'm not gonna lie. I just got into an altercation with this morning with peoples, and I'm like,
You got an altercation with people's.
Yes.
What does that mean?
I'm not trying. I'm sorry.
I don't know what that means.
This morning, someone's cousin, family, whatever the case may be, I just got into an altercation with them this morning.
How?
I got into a fight this morning with
A
them.
fist fight?
Yes, and I was just brought up in here, so
How?
I'm kind of,
ma'am, this is the time and this is the person to address this to.
her peoples or whatever, calling, texting me, whatever the case may be.
Who's her people? Can you say who her is?
Her,
Okay, the person you don't know her name.
yes.
Okay, how do you
Well,
know
keep
that?
texting me about her though.
How do you know it's her people then?
Because they keep texting me about her, talking about Karaya this, Karaya that.
Oh, so
So-
you do know her name now?
Yes.
Okay, so her name is Karaya.
Karaya.
Okay,
her.
and so you've received some text messages?
Yes,
From-
I showed, yes, I showed them. I was escorted here by the police.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm not like. if you
and
give
the
me a
text
moment-
messages were threatening in nature is what you're saying?
Yes,
Okay, how did you end up having a physical fight with someone?
opened my door, heard people some type of way about all this that's going on, so she came to my house, we was standing right there, she came to my house, her people.
Who was
came-
standing right there?
Her people came to my house,
Oh,
whatever.
she wasn't there though.
No, her
Okay.
people came to my house or whatever. My sister do hair, so it's kind of easy to for me find out where we stay at. And girl, I don't know how it came about of them going to my house to fight or whatever, but it happened.
Do you know the relationship between these people and the person you're identifying as Karaya?
No, I got messages though. I don't know.
Okay, you've turned those messages over to the
Yes, I
prosecution
showed, yeah.
or the police?
I showed the police and
A witness, victim advocate, is it?
I keep,
Okay.
I forget her name.
Victim advocate?
Yeah.
Okay,
victim
but you did give them to the police?
Mhm.
But that's
And
a
I
yes.
sent it to the,
Okay.
yes, I sent it to the evidence box.
Okay, so it would be reasonable, ma'am, that you might be frustrated. You can look at me though, or turn your attention this way, and that might help you too.
I'm trying, but I'm shaking. I'm
I
like,
like
this
the-
just
I could-
happened.
I
Like, this
could-
just happened.
I agree.
This just happened.
If it just happened, I can see
okay,
why you
so-
would still not have had an opportunity to calm down.
Yes. I have-
If you
it
at
just
all need to take any breaks today, we're happy to give that to you. I would like for you to give your testimony today so that we don't have to adjourn and have you come back here for this purpose. So if you need me to rearrange any seats to make you more comfortable, let me know. I think that's appropriate too. Would that make you feel more comfortable?
No, I'm comfortable. It's just I'm shaking and I'm trying to keep my composure. So I don't think this is the right time for me to be doing this because it just happened. It's not like it just was, you feel me, hours ago. This just happened. Like it's just happened.
yes, Ms. Love, we're going to accommodate you as best we can, but like I explained before, we're in no hurry.
And it's okay if you can't keep your composure.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I can't. I'm shaking and I'm not trying to go to jail. I just got escorted here by the police, so I'm like,
Okay, let me take a 5-minute
trying.
recess. No, 5-minute
But it's
recess.
like.
Did you need something to drink or something, ma'am?
No, I'm perfectly fine.
Okay. No, they can go back there.
Staying here, my mouth is not-
You wanted to look
my
out.
mouth-
Yeah, they can go back there
Understand?
with their attorney.
Bro.
Well, I think for your purpose, your client can just switch over to the other side.
Sure.
This is not an easy thing to do. This is not an easy thing to do. Your frustration is
I can understand it if they should have hours for this shit just happen.
It's not-
It's not.
Yeah.
Your victim still taking a break.
I'm gonna go get it right now.
Dave, I just sent you the screenshot. I.
You know, the victim is still kind of worked up. I have two other witnesses.
Somebody you want to call her back?
Yes,
That's
Your Honor. Is that okay? Okay. In that case, the people call Officer Zachariah Vanderworth.
Oh, yeah, you should. She just didn't want me. Oh, yeah, we did a judgment, but
Yeah,
hearing.
yeah.
Okay. They didn't give us paperwork then? You didn't sign it then? She did. That's what we got. Solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give is the truth and the whole truth under penalty of perjury.
Yes, ma'am.
If you could have a seat. State your first and last name and spell both.
Yes, it's Officer Zachariah Vanderworth. First name is spelled Zachariah. Last name Vanderworth is Vanderwerf.
You can proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer Vanderworth, with whom are you currently employed, sir?
Lansing Police Department,
How long have you been employed with them?
8 years.
And what are your current responsibilities with Lansing Police Department?
I'm just a patrol officer.
What do you do as a patrol officer? What are some of your duties?
Respond to 911 calls, traffic stops, things of that nature.
And were you working in this capacity on December 10th of 2024?
Yes.
Do you recall being dispatched to a location at sorry, I think my notes here. 3822 Wilson Avenue in Lansing, Michigan.
Yes,
And is that the county of Bingham?
yes.
Can you tell the court what you remember about that dispatch?
Yeah, so we were dispatched to a B&E, which is a breaking and entering complaint. The caller was stating that there was a woman there by the last name of Clinton that was at the address, and there was multiple others that were there. She said basically the caller stated at one point there was multiple people, up to 7 people that were inside the residence, so she was inside herself.
And did you ultimately arrive at that address?
Yes.
Can you tell the court what you observed when you got there?
So when I first arrived, I observed Officer Hall. He was struggling with a subject at the front of looked like a silver Chevy Impala. And that person was later identified as Mr. Kajar. And so I ran over to assist Officer Hall and attempt to take the subject into custody because he appeared that he was resisting arrest.
Objection, speculation.
The objection and speculation, did you want to respond?
Well, because the question was what he observed. I think the officer is describing what he observed.
Yeah, and he said it appeared that he was resisting, that's what you're objecting to?
Okay, but he can testify that he observed my client struggle off. But when he says he observed who resisting arrest, now he's making a legal conclusion that there was probable cause to make an arrest, and my client was fighting it off. He doesn't know that. So that part is
Objection
speculation.
sustained.
So it appeared that there was a physical struggle between Officer Hall and Mr. Kajar. So at that point, I ran over to assist him and I grabbed Kajar by his arm to help assist getting him in handcuffs.
Okay. And when you arrived on that scene, what did you arrive in?
We arrived in our fully marked patrol vehicle
And how were you dressed then?
in full police uniform.
And when you arrived, I think you described quite a commotion, but did you have an opportunity to identify yourself as a police officer?
I don't believe I did at that point.
So you saw Officer Hall, oh, excuse me, before I get into that, so you observed and you were able to identify Officer Hall when you arrived.
Yes,
How was he dressed?
he was dressed in full police uniform.
And could you tell whether or not he had a patrol vehicle that was also present on the scene?
Yeah, because we had parked right behind his patrol vehicle.
Thank you, officer. Okay, so you saw the struggle and then you assisted getting this individual into custody. Is that what you described?
Yes.
Okay. And based on your actions there in that moment, were you able to ascertain what was going on when you arrived?
No, not at that point. So essentially, I had detained another
Objection.
sub.
Lack of personal knowledge and calls for hearsay.
Did you want to respond to the objection?
I asked him, I'm asking him about the course of his investigation. So he's telling us what he's
I
learned.
recognize, I don't think he's objecting to your question, he's objecting to the answer.
I don't think I heard the answer.
Well, he started talking about what he observed when he respond, or when he appeared, but he's basing it off of some hearsay is the objection. His response is based off hearsay.
Okay.
Do you want him to repeat what he said?
That would actually help in case I need to rephrase.
Can you repeat what your response to?
Beyond, if I may, my objection to the question too, what did he ascertain that would cause for things that are not within his personal knowledge, things that he learned from other officers?
Okay, so you are objecting to the form of the
But I
question.
didn't ask what he learned from other officers. I asked what he learned in his investigation. I don't think we got to what particular, I mean, maybe that objection will become relevant soon, but I didn't hear enough of the answer to.
All right, I think we need to know, he's obviously has to do an investigation as an officer, so what did he determine through his investigation? If that does elicit hearsay, then I'll renew or allow you to renew your objection. For now, it's overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor. Okay, so were you able to identify this person you assisted Officer Hall with?
Yes.
And how were you able to do that?
We ran his name through.
And how did you learn his name?
He gave me his name.
And what was the name that he gave you?
Mr. Kajar was or Kajar was his name. I think Marion, if I'm saying his first name correctly.
Okay. And did you confirm that that was the person you were speaking to?
Yes.
How did you do that?
Confirm that through him.
All right. And would you recognize that person if you saw him again today?
Yes.
Do you see that individual in the courtroom?
Yes, I do.
Can you, I point to him and identify article of clothing that you.
Yes, he's wearing the Banana Republic black hooded sweatshirt.
Your Honor, the record reflect ID.
Any
No
objection?
objection.
Noted.
Um, Did you speak to Mr. Kajar?
I believe we spoke in the back of the car at some point, yes.
Did you read him his rights?
I do not recall if I did.
Okay, fair enough. Um, And to be clear, you were not present when Officer Hall initiated contact with.
No.
Okay. All right. Once you had Mr. Kajar in custody and you ascertained his identity, what did you do next?
I don't recall the series of events, but I do remember at some point we were trying to detain two other individuals. So,
So why were you trying to detain two other individuals?
because in the call notes, it said there was 7 people inside of the residence. So there have been multiple people that were still on scene that we hadn't verified if those were the accused that were
Okay,
essentially committing the home invasion.
so to be clear, are you detaining these individuals or are we arresting these individuals?
Detaining them at this point so we can further our investigation.
Okay. So these two other individuals that you were trying to detain, how did you get into contact with these people? Were they inside, outside? Can you give us more?
They were outside, they were standing near the sidewalk, kind of up by the apartments a little bit.
Why did you determine it was necessary to detain these individuals?
It was believed at that point they were potentially involved.
Okay,
Objection, Your Honor, cause for speculation. He's
His response. That
correct.
that
He
it was
believed
believed that
they
it was
were part of
potentially
it. Yeah.
involved.
well, I think at this point in the line of questioning, the witness is just describing the nature of his investigation. The testimony has established that the call came out that there were multiple people, up to 7 people inside somebody's house. When he arrived on scene, there were multiple subjects on hand. And at this point, I think the officer. I think the reasonable inference of the testimony so far is the officer doesn't know what's going on. So he's approaching people, and I haven't gotten into the nature of the detention yet, because as the court is well aware, detainment does not necessarily mean somebody's placed in handcuffs. It just merely means any number of things, which I have not been able to ask the officer about yet. So at this point, the officer's not
Objections overruled.
speculating. Thank you. Okay, so 2 other people were detained as you described.
Yes.
Okay, can you give the court a little bit more information about, let's just start with the first individual.
Yeah, so both of them were standing side by side, and I was speaking to them from the front of Officer Hall's patrol vehicle. I had asked them several times to stand at the front of that vehicle so I could detain them. They refused to comply with my orders to stand in front of the vehicle. I gave them multiple demands to do it. Eventually, myself, Officer Hall, and Officer Clue approached those 2 females.
Let me ask you, why is it necessary for them to stand in front of your vehicle?
It's just to gauge compliance. I mean, at that point, I was trying to be as safe as possible because I was the only officer up there. So I'm trying to get them to stand in front of the vehicle to make it the most safe for me, being that everybody else had already been in contact with someone or had somebody detained.
How does them standing in front of the vehicle make it safer for you? Can you explain that to the court?
So for me, having them stand there, it allows for the other officers to see what's going on as well, because it's standing in front of that car versus them standing up on the sidewalk and then me being out of sight of where those officers are.
So are you describing removing an object that was preventing other officers to see? you
Yeah,
and these
there's several
individuals?
vehicles that are parked right there in the parking lot. So.
Okay. So, and if the other officers cannot see you while you're talking to individuals on the scene who you know nothing about, what's the danger?
Well, so the danger would be that nobody sees me physically struggling with another person, so they can't come assist me.
Okay, so the move to the front of the vehicle, in this case, you're describing is for officer safety.
Yes.
Did those individuals comply?
No.
Can you tell the court about that?
Yeah, so once it was determined that they weren't complying with my orders, myself, Officer Hall, and Officer Clue approached those 2 females, which were later identified as Miss Parker and Miss Dennis. I approached Miss Dennis with Officer Clue. He reached out to grab Miss Dennis, who was backing away from officers as we approached her. Miss Dennis, then once Officer Clue grabbed her, I grabbed a hold of her as well. She was pulling in her arms tight, close to her body, so I couldn't get her arm behind the back. I tried to advise her to stop resisting. She refused, began yelling and screaming. At some point, we had to bring her to the ground in order to handcuff her.
And again, just for point of clarification, we established that it was an officer safety issue, why you wanted them to move. Since they refused to comply, can you explain to the court why at this point it was necessary to put them in handcuffs?
Well, it was only necessary at that point because they had refused to comply with our orders. We haven't been able to control the scene at that point. So there's just a lot of moving parts to that, and we can't really get to the investigation portion until we have things controlled on scene.
Okay, so once again, then, I think I understand your testimony to be that the placing these individuals in handcuffs was an officer safety issue?
Yes.
Okay. Did you explain this to them?
Yeah, so I had actually verbally advised them that they were detained and they were not free to go.
And you identified these two individuals by name. You said Miss Dennis and Miss Parker.
Mhm.
Do you see those individuals in court?
I see Miss Dennis.
Can you point to her and? Yes, can you point to her and identify an article of clothing?
Yeah, she's wearing a black jacket
Where she's sitting.
and she's sitting right next to the defense attorney with the blue jacket on.
Thank you. Your Honor, with the record reflect ID, the defense attorney at counsel table.
No objection, Your Honor.
So noted.
So as you were placing her in handcuffs, she was pulling her arms in front of her body. Is that what you just said?
Yes.
What happened next?
So like I said, I advised her to stop resisting, just to put her hands behind her back. She began yelling and screaming, kind of just pulling away from officers or keeping her arms close, but kind of just, I was unable to be able to pull her arm due to the fact that she was pulling against me as I was trying to pull her arm back behind her. So we decided at that point just to take her to the ground, and then we placed her in handcuffs and she was on the ground.
At this point, after all of this, was she under arrest?
Yes, for resisting at that point, yes.
And I think you just indicated once she was on the ground, you were able to get her in handcuffs, then, is that correct?
Yeah, well, not myself. I think Officer Clue was the one that was able to handcuff her at that point.
Okay, the two of you working together.
Yeah.
And then what did you do with her after that?
I believe Officer Clue took her from there at that point.
And did you see her again after that?
Yeah, she was standing up. I think I met her at the front of my patrol vehicle at some point.
Okay. Did you take a statement from her?
I did not know.
Did you escort her at all to Lansing Police Department?
No, I did not escort her, no.
I'd like to back up and talk about Mr. Kajar once again. Once Mr. Kajar was taken into custody and placed in, was he placed in handcuffs? Did you testify?
Yeah, he was placed in handcuffs by Officer Hall.
What happened to Mr. Kajar?
I'm not sure where they went from there, but at some point he made it into the back of Officer Hall's patrol vehicle.
Did you observe him at all while he was in the back of the vehicle?
I didn't observe him in there, but I could hear him in there.
What did you hear?
I could hear him yelling and screaming and kicking at the door.
How do you know he was kicking at the door?
Because you could hear it, you could hear the impact, and then I could see, you could actually see the door like flexing from the impact.
Okay, so you could see the door while you could hear the commotion inside the vehicle?
Oh, yeah.
Were you able to observe any damage to the vehicle?
I was not.
Okay. Did you assist in any other manner during this interaction?
Yes, so at some point, Officer Hall had pulled Kajar out of the back of his patrol vehicle, And then, because I was turned away from it at that point, but I turned around to see if there was a physical struggle between him and Officer Hall. So I went to assist Officer Hall. At that point, he advised, let's take him to the ground. So I assisted with bringing Kajari to the ground. And then once he was on the ground, I just kind of controlled his legs just to prevent from any kicking happening at that point for officer safety due to the fact he heard him kicking the back door. And then at that point, I was just trying to de-escalate the situation with Kajari by speaking to him. And at some point, once the situation was de-escalated, we brought him back to his seat.
What did you do with him after you brought him back to his feet?
He was actually we transferred him over to my patrol vehicle and we actually drove him down to get booked in at our detention center.
And I think you testified earlier, you don't recall whether or not you read his rights.
Correct.
Okay. So I'll refrain from asking you about any statements you made on. All right, in that case, Officer, thank you very much. I have no further questions at this time.
I just have a follow-up, because you asked him if he could identify two people, but he only addressed one. Is that because he's not able to identify the other person, or he doesn't see them?
Oh, I think one was identified by name as Miss Dennis, and I think you identified Miss Dennis. The other was Miss Parker. But I think when I asked, do you see these people in court, you said you see one. Do you see anybody else that you interacted with in this court?
No.
Okay. So it doesn't sound like the officer's going to be able to.
Sounds good, thank you. Officer Simmons?
Thanks. Officer Vanderworth, when you arrived on scene, Officer Hall was already engaged with the individual you wanted to meet, Mr. Kajar.
Yes.
So it's fair to say that you didn't see any specific articulable facts to detain Mr. Kajar yourself.
Right, correct.
And likewise, you didn't have any probable cause to arrest Mr. Kajar yourself.
Correct.
You're just relying on Miss Officer Hall doing what was within Lansing Police Department's policies and procedures.
Yes.
You were actually on scene for over an hour, correct?
I want to be able to tell you, I don't recall how long we were on scene for.
While you were on scene, did any neighbor come out and tell you that Mrs. Love did not live there?
Objection. That would be hearsay.
Under Rule 1101B8, hearsay is admissible during preliminary examinations for ownership of property, authority to use.
That's actually correct. I was wrong.
You withdrawn.
Yes, that is Council's correct.
Did anybody come out and tell you that Mrs. Love didn't live there?
I don't recall. I'd have to go back and watch my body cam to verify.
Is it fair to say that neighbors were out there though?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Did you remember any neighbors telling you that she didn't belong there?
I don't recall. Again, I have to watch my body cam back.
Did any of the other people detained ask you specifically to go to the leasing office to confirm whether or not Mrs. Love belonged there?
Again, I don't recall. I'd have to watch my body cam back.
Did you ever go to the leasing office to confirm whether or not Mrs. Love belonged there?
I didn't.
And you referred to this in direct examination as a home invasion, correct?
Yes.
You don't know if anybody had permission from a leaseholder to enter that location, correct?
Correct.
No further question.
Officer Vanderworth, from slow down. If I need to slow down and replay, please let me know, okay? I want to take you back to that date. You had stated earlier that you had observed Ms. Dennis and another person on the sidewalk, correct?
Yes.
At that time, did you observe them committing any crimes at that time?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Over the dispatch, was there a description of the people that were in the home at all, to your knowledge?
No, no description, just that there was seven. It
Okay,
said seven people.
so there are some people there. So at this point, you don't have any information that Ms. Dennis was involved in that incident. Is that correct? Specifically her, is that correct?
Yes, correct.
So no description, black, female, or anything of that nature, correct?
Yeah, I don't believe so.
Okay. So you and you decided to detain her anyways, is that correct?
Yes, I decided.
Okay. And you had stated earlier that you were advised that there were about 7 people. And is that correct, that there was about 7 people?
Yeah.
And you said the scene was kind of chaotic. There was a lot of people outside, correct?
Yes, there was. Yeah.
So Was everybody outside detained at that time?
No, not everyone.
Okay, but you only picked them because they were closest to you? Is that the reason for detaining them?
No, because again, I'd have to watch my body cam back to verify this, but I believe they had addressed Mr. Kajar at some point
Okay, so
during our
was,
conduct.
so was that a, earlier I'd asked you if you observed them committing a crime, was that a crime to address them at all?
No,
Okay, all right, so I just want to be clear.
Yeah.
All right. Did they, when you had said that they weren't free to go, did they run from you or anything of that nature?
no,
Okay. And there was another officer that helped you arrest, is that correct?
yes.
All right, I like to use the term going hands-on at that point. And what was that officer's name again?
Officer Clue.
Officer Clue, okay. And do you recall how quickly he helped in the hands-on portion of it when he exited the vehicle?
No, I don't recall.
If I told you it was almost immediate, would that seem accurate?
No, because I don't know the time frame of when he arrived to when we arrived.
Okay, so did you go hands-on first or the officer Clue went hands-on first?
If I recall correctly, he went hands-on
So
first.
he went the hands-on first, but you were the ones giving the commands, correct?
Yes, correct.
Earlier you had stated that you try to have them stop for officer safety, but there were multiple officers there, correct?
Yes,
Okay, so it wasn't like you were there by yourself trying to control the full crowd.
well, I don't know.
You
if
weren't
that's-
there by yourself.
I was not there by myself,
Okay,
no.
and Officer Clue was actually there to help you with the detainment or the hands-on portion, correct?
Yes,
Okay, just to be clear, that you were not there by yourself. Earlier, you had said that when you guys went hands-on, Ms. Dennis was yelling and screaming, is that correct?
she didn't begin yelling and screaming until we had approached her. And
Okay.
then once we went hands-on, yes, she began yelling and screaming.
So, in your observation, was it more of freaking out, like, I don't want to be arrested, they're trying to arrest me type of thing? Did that kind of seem what she was saying?
Yeah, I'm certain
Okay.
that's a portion of it, yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
So it wasn't like she was fighting you or trying to run or anything, that she was just freaked out about what was happening to her, that she was being put hands on by officers. So she was kind of expressing that, is that correct?
Well, I mean, once we grabbed onto her, she made it very evident that she didn't want her hands put behind her back, just by the fact that she was resisting my efforts to do so.
But we're talking about, you said earlier about her screaming, I want to make sure that that's clear.
Mhm.
She was hysterical because she wasn't sure what was going on, is
I
that
mean,
correct?
that's probably some of it, yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
And was she on the phone at the time, do you recall?
I don't remember. if she was or not.
How many other people did you detain out there that day?
Oh. Me specifically,
Correct.
me specifically, that would be three.
Three people?
Three different people
Okay,
I helped detain.
you helped detain. Okay, so that was Mr. Kajar and the two people.
Yeah, Mr. Kajar and then Miss Dennis. And then there is a subject that was a driver of the Chevy Impala that Mr. or Officer Hall and Kajar were struggling on.
Okay, so you detained three people. Did you find the other four people to detain at all? Because you guys said there were 7 total that were,
The offhand, I only recall, like, I think we detained 5 different people
Okay.
during that.
all right. No further questions, Your Honor.
I just have a question as it relates to Ms. Dennis again, because your statement was that she didn't begin to yell and scream until the officers were approaching her. Who identified her as someone who was of interest for this, though?
You're asking me, Judge?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know that, I don't think anybody identified her specifically.
Okay, so why was she being approached in the first place?
Like I advised, there's 7 different people out there that were allegedly engaged in this, and they had addressed Mr. Kajar, so I believe at that time that they were possibly associated.
Okay, so everyone who addressed Mr. Kajar was detained.
At least those 2 individuals. Yes.
That's not, so you see how I asked a specific question and then your question was not specific, your answer was specific to my question.
Yeah.
Everyone who was addressing Mr. Kajar was detained, is that yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, so, okay. And it was based solely on the purpose of the connection that they addressed him.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Officer, when you pulled in, you were more in the kind of the middle of the parking lot, is that fair to say?
Yeah, I would say that's probably fair to say.
And you were over there to kind of And when you first got there, you went to help Officer Hall near his police vehicle?
Yes,
And then when you started to, I guess, yell at these two people that they're being detained, they were on a sidewalk, kind of on the outside of the parking lot, correct?
yeah, they were near the parking lot, but yeah, like outside of the parking lot, yes.
Okay, so they're a decent distance from you at that time.
Yeah, they're probably only like 5 to 10 feet, somewhere in there, 10
Well,
feet, probably
if
about
you're
10 feet.
If you're in the middle of the parking lot, I mean, there's more than one parking spot away, which is,
Yeah, but I'm standing at the front of Officer Hall's vehicle at this point, so it's closer.
um, but again, these women did not run away from you at all?
No.
And you did not see them commit any type of offense?
No.
You also stated that there were neighbors out and about, correct?
Yes, there was.
Did you detain any of these neighbors? And I guess, what was the difference between neighbors and these two individuals who you chose to detain?
Like I said, I believe, again, I'd have to watch my body came back, but I believe they addressed Mr. Aguilar at some point, so I believe they were associated.
All right, thank you. Your Honor, no further questions.
Thank you.
None.
Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. Let me just start with, you were asked on cross-examination whether or not you had learned that Miss Love was not allowed to be there. If anybody had given you a statement, I believe you said that you don't recall hearing anything like that.
I don't recall. I'd have to watch my body cam back.
Let me just ask you, during the basis of your investigation, so in your own personal knowledge while you were on the scene, did you learn anything that gave you any reason to believe that Miss Love was present at that location in any illegal capacity?
No, I didn't learn any of that information. I mean, obviously Love was the caller. And I recall there was a situation the day prior where Mr. Sanders was arrested for domestic violence against Miss Love. So that's all that I really knew of that situation.
Fair enough.
How did you know about the situation?
So I had worked the day previously, and then we had actually been initially sent to that call, but I believe we were disregarded, but I had spoke to Officer Robertson, who later arrested Mr. Sanders and advised me of the situation.
So you didn't have personal knowledge as to all the details. This is just something that you heard.
Yes, correct.
Okay. But also at the same time, I think your testimony is that you didn't learn any reason to remove Miss Love from the premises, did you?
No.
I also want to back up and just, and for point of clarification on the record, because I think the court asked a very valid follow-up here. With respect to, it was Miss Dennis, you found it, you testified that you find it necessary to detain Miss Dennis, but I just want to be clear. When somebody is detained, does that mean that they're in handcuffs? Is that the only time somebody's detained?
No.
Okay, so in what way were you trying to, when you first approached Miss Dennis, in what way were you trying to detain her initially?
In reality, what I wanted them to do is just stand in front of the patrol vehicle and place their hands on the patrol vehicle just for safety.
So in this context, then a detainment merely means that you're just speaking to them, correct?
Correct.
That you're just asking them questions relevant to the investigation, correct?
Yes.
In order so that you can learn what's going on in the situation, on the scene?
Yes.
And when you first talked to Miss Dennis, you didn't know what was going on, did you?
No.
And is that the reason why you approached Miss Dennis?
Yes.
So you answered the court's question with respect to why it was initially, why you deemed it necessary to approach Miss Dennis, and you answered that it's because she was addressing Kajar earlier. Do you remember?
Yeah, I believe one of them was addressing Kajar, or if not both of them. But again, I'd have to watch my body cam back.
Fair enough. Can you describe what it was you heard that made you feel related to this investigation that caused you to approach them beyond merely speaking to?
I believe
Does that make sense? Does that answer
Yeah, I just believe I overheard one of them calling out to him.
Objection, does he actually remember it or does he believe it? Cause of speculation.
Yeah, I guess to that
Just
point,
sustain.
I do not. I'd have to watch my body cam back in order to accurately be able to tell you that.
Okay, that's fair. where was Miss Dennis with respect to that address, 3822 Wilson Avenue, when you first saw her?
When I first saw them, they were standing in the sidewalk of the parking lot, so I think there's two or three units between Miss Love's unit and where they were standing.
And you said they're on the sidewalk, is it on the sidewalk next to the parking lot?
Yeah, it was like right on the sidewalk, right in front of kind of where the Chevy Impala was, where Officer Hall had struggled with Kajar initially.
Okay, so were they standing next to that Chevy Impala?
When I first pulled up, I don't recall seeing them when I first pulled up there.
When you decided to approach Miss Dennis?
Yes, that's where they're standing. Yes.
Okay, right next to the vehicle where you had just assisted in detaining Mr. Kajar.
Yes, right.
And so, since you can hear them addressing Mr. Kajar in some fashion, and because of where they were located, that seemed relevant to you to follow up.
Yes.
All right, and then again, the initial quote unquote detainment was when you approached Miss Dennis to speak to her. Do we agree?
Yes.
And then you asked her to move for officer safety, but at this point, at that point, did you determine that it was necessary to take any additional security measure as, let me rephrase, when you asked her to move in front of the vehicle, had you made a determination whether or not it was necessary to put her in handcuffs at that time?
No, at that time I had not made a determination.
So before you asked her to move in front of the vehicle, did you intend to place her in handcuffs?
No, when I initially had asked them to comply with my orders, I was just gonna have them stand there.
And so to be clear, the reason you placed them in handcuffs is because they were not complying with the orders you were giving them for officer safety.
Yes.
No further questions.
Oh, I just have a follow-up question. Because one of the questions was about the information you ascertained during the basis of your investigation. And I'm just trying to understand, other than, because I know you arrived to the scene, you and other officers arrived to a chaotic scene. I think that's undisputed. And that you approached several individuals and they were not cooperative. But what other measures did you specifically take as part of your investigation to determine the home invasion? Or who was a suspect for the home invasion?
I didn't take any. Officer Hall was the primary officer on the call for that.
Okay, so got it. I have no other questions. Any redirect based on my, or recross on my questions?
No, Your Honor.
Nothing on behalf of Ms. Dennis.
Okay, sounds good.
No.
Thank you, Officer Vanderworth. There is a sequestration order, so you can't talk about your testimony or with any other witness, but you're all set.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, officer.
And then, I don't know if you have another officer that you want to call now, or if you want to see about your other witness.
If it's please required, I'd like to move on to another police officer witness. Now.
Okay, sounds good.
The people who call Officer Brendan Irwin.
Officer Hall, who is it?
Oh, yeah, mine, they put up there.
You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give is the truth and the whole truth under penalty of perjury.
I do.
Thank you. You can have a seat. State your first and last name and spell both.
Brendan Irwin, BRENDAN,
You can proceed, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir Irwin, with whom are you currently employed, sir?
with the Lansing Police Department,
And how long have you been employed with Lansing Police Department?
approximately 9 months.
What are your current responsibilities with the Lansing Police Department?
I am on the road patrol. I respond to calls for service.
Do you have any other prior law enforcement experience before the LPD?
I work with the city of Jackson.
What did you do for the city of Jackson, sir?
I was a patrol officer there as well,
How long were you doing that for the city of Jackson?
a year and a half.
Any other law enforcement prior to that?
No.
Okay, sir. And with Lansing Police Department, as a road patrol officer, were you working in that capacity on December 10th of 2024, sir?
I was.
Do you recall being dispatched to a 3822 Wilson Avenue in the city of Lansing,
I did.
County of Hingham?
Yes.
Can you tell the court what you remember about that dispatch, sir?
We got dispatched to a home invasion in progress, and while en route, the caller stated that approximately 7 people were breaking into her apartment.
And did you go to that location?
I did.
What did you observe when you arrived at that location?
When we arrived, we observed 2 males sitting in a silver vehicle in the parking lot. We detained those 2 males. After detaining those 2 males, multiple female subjects started coming out to the scene. And we detained multiple females as well.
Okay, when you say we, who's we?
Me, Officer Vanderworth, Officer Hall, and Officer Clue.
So then, did you assist with the detention of the individual outside of that vehicle outside the apartment?
I did.
What kind of vehicle was it, do you recall?
It was a silver sedan, I think.
Did you arrive at the same? You described Officer Hall, Officer Vanderworth, and who else was there, sir?
Officer Clue.
Officer Clue. Did you arrive at the same time as these people?
Officer Hall arrived just before me and Officer Rick were.
Okay. Were you present with Mr. Hall, with Officer Hall when he approached the individuals at that silver vehicle?
Upon my arrival, Officer Hall had already approached the vehicle.
Okay, fair enough. You described interacting with other individuals besides those 2. Can you tell the court about that?
So multiple females came out to the scene. I took custody over one of the females, Miss Parker, and detained her.
You said they came out to the scene. Is that how you described it?
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
I'm not certain of where they came from. I just know that they came out to the parking lot where we were detaining the 2 males.
And what was it that gave you reason to detain the students?
They began shouting and trying to interfere with our detention.
And did you give a name of one of the females that you detained?
Yeah, Miss Parker.
How did you get her? How did you learn her name?
After she was placed in handcuffs and I took over custody of her, I identified her as Miss Parker. She provided her identification.
Okay. And were you able to confirm her identification?
I was.
How did you do that?
Through me.
Would you identify Miss Parker? Excuse me. Would you recognize Miss Parker if you saw her again?
That I'm not certain.
Okay. Do you see Miss Parker in court today? If you look around,
I believe I do.
and why do you? And just so
It's been a little bit since I've seen her, but I do believe Miss Parker is sitting in this building.
okay. And just so that we understand, what gives you the impression that you see her?
I believe that I recognize her.
So you do recognize Miss Parker?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir. Can you point to the person you think is Miss Parker and identify an article of clothing that she's wearing?
Black puffy coat.
The record reflect ID?
Any objection?
No objection.
So noted.
When you detained Miss Parker, did you give her her rights?
I did.
Did she waive any of those rights?
She did not.
She did not waive any of those rights?
She advised that she understood her Miranda rights as I had read through it
Okay.
and agreed to provide a statement.
So she did waive a right?
Yeah.
Did
She agreed to provide a statement.
she agreed to provide a statement to you? Okay, after you read her rights?
Correct.
Okay, it's fine. I just want to make sure that that's clear on the record when somebody goes back over this later. Okay, so she agreed to give you a statement.
Correct.
What was that statement?
She said that her and the other subjects there, who she identified as Marianne Kajar and his girlfriend and her mother, went there to get Malaysia Love out of her apartment.
Did she say why?
She did not.
Let me stop you. She said that they went to get Malaysia Love out of her apartment.
Out of Malaysia's apartment.
That's what she said?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, John. So did she describe what happened when they got there?
She said that they went to the front door and knocked on the front door. At that time, Malaysia Love came to the door and began yelling at them through the door, but did not open the door. She said that her and Mr. Kajar then went to the back of the apartment and Mr. Kajar tried to open the back door, found that it was unlocked and opened the door and went in.
Okay, so just to be clear, they tried to get Miss Love's attention at the front door. Is that correct?
Correct.
Did Miss Parker tell you whether or not Miss Love came to the door?
She said that she came to the door, but did not open the door.
Okay.
She was yelling at them through the other side of the door.
Okay, so Miss Love did not open the door for Miss Parker and the other people that were there at that time.
Correct.
All right. So then I think your testimony was that because she was not able to get in through the front, she and other individuals went around to the back.
Yes.
And Miss Parker identified Mr. Kajar as the individual that opened the back door.
Correct.
What happened next?
Ms. Parker advised that Mr. Kajar found the back door to be unlocked, so he opened it. Then she stated that her and Mr. Kajar, his girlfriend, and the mother then went into the apartment.
Did they indicate that they had permission from Miss Love to enter the apartment at that time?
She advised that at no point in time did they have permission to be in the apartment.
She told you that she had no permission. Did she indicate whether or not somebody else had maybe given her permission to enter?
She did not.
Did she tell you whether or not she interacted with Miss Love when she went inside?
She stated that when the four of them went into the apartment, that they began to argue with Miss Love. At which point Miss Love went into a bedroom, locked herself in the bedroom, and called 911.
Did Miss Parker make any admissions as to whether or not she put her hands on Miss Love?
She did not.
But I think you testified that it was her intention, as well as for the others, based on her statement to you, to remove Miss Love from that property. Is that what you said?
Objection,
Correct.
he's calling for speculation here in the way he's asking the question. He's asking what her intent is.
I believe the question was, did Miss Parker tell you her intent?
That's what I thought his question was too. Of the objections are ruled.
Ms. Parker stated that they went there to get Miss Love out of it.
And again, this was a statement that Miss Parker volunteered to you after you read her Miranda rights.
That's correct.
Sir, after she gave you this statement, what happened next?
After she gave me that statement, I took over custody of Mr. Kajar, placed him in the back of my patrol car, and transported him to the Lansing Police Department jail.
Did you have any incident along the way?
I did not.
No incidents once you got to the Lansing Police Department?
No.
And no incidents while he was going through intake at LPD?
No.
When Ms. Parker explained who was with her, you mentioned that she she identified a Mr. Kajar by name,
Yes,
and forgive me, I don't remember the other names. There was Ms. Parker, Mr. Kajar. Did she identify any other names?
she did not.
So just those two names according to the statement you received?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you, sir. No further questions.
Cross-examination.
So when you first arrived, you did not observe Ms. Kajar do anything unlawful.
I observed Mr. Kajar refusing orders from Officer Hall.
You don't know why Officer Hall was giving Ms. Kajar orders.
That I'm not certain of.
Okay, so you can't testify whether or not Officer Hall had any specific articulable facts to detain Mr. Hall.
Yeah, I'm not certain of.
And likewise, you can't testify whether or not Officer Hall had probable cause to arrest Mr. Kajar.
Yeah.
Right. And so likewise, you can't testify that Officer Hall was acting in lawful performance of his duties when he was struggling with Mr. Hall. Correct?
Correct.
You were lying that he was and went to go help him. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever check with the leasing office to see if Ms. Love was on the lease?
I did not.
Did you ever check to see if Ms. Love belonged in that apartment?
I did not.
While you were present, did any neighbors come out and tell you that Ms. Love didn't belong there?
Not to my knowledge.
Did any neighbors come out while you were present?
Not that I recall.
You recall any neighbors coming out?
There was a large number of people that were coming out. I don't know if they were direct neighbors or just residents of the apartment.
Did Ms. Love ever leave that location while you were present?
No.
Did you interview Ms. Love?
I did not.
Did you ever go inside of the apartment?
I did not.
No further question.
Your Honor. Officer Irwin, my name is Joseph. If I need to rephrase or slow down, please let me know, okay? I want you to clarify a term you said earlier, you testified to earlier that they came out to the parking lot. I just want to clarify, did they come out to just the sidewalk? You said that's the people who came out, or did they actually come out to where the males were being arrested?
They came out to the sidewalk in the area of where the males were being arrested.
Okay, so it wasn't like they were hovering over you guys while you guys are trying to detain the males, is that correct?
They were right there next to the vehicle. The
Okay.
sidewalk was, the vehicle was parked right in front of the sidewalk. They came out to the sidewalk.
Okay, and can you, if you can, what's the difference? 5 feet, 10 feet, 2 car lengths, 1 car length? Can you help us gauge how far they were from you guys?
That I'm not certain of. I wasn't in the direct area. I was dealing with another subject that was being detained.
So is this something you observed them coming out, or you were told that they were close by?
I observed it.
You observed it from a distance. Okay, so you can't, because you're so far, you can't really tell how close or how far they were. They were just out there.
Correct.
Is that a more fair statement that they were out there?
Yes.
Okay, all right. That clarifies that for me then. Okay. Did you notice anybody physically trying to interfere with the officers trying to arrest the 2 males?
I didn't observe anything like that.
Okay.
Like I said, I was dealing with the second male that was being detained.
Okay, just to clarify, so nobody was trying to pull officers off or try to help them escape or anything of that nature, is that correct?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Also, you had a statement, the court actually asked to clarify, but let me try to clarify one more time. Earlier you had said that the statement provided to you was that Ms. Parker had said that they went to Malaysia's apartment, or they went to the apartment that Malaysia was at. I want to, because there's a difference there, right? If you just go to an apartment or if you go to somebody's apartment. Do you remember clearly, or is this something that you kind of
She stated they went to the apartment.
to the apartment?
I asked you if she said that they went to Malaysia's apartment. You told me, yeah, that's why I re-asked you. You said, yeah, that's what she said.
Okay.
It's not what she said. And you're an officer, so you know, or should know, I guess, the distinction in that language. So when I asked you before, did Ms. Parker tell you that they went to get Malaysia out of her apartment? Is that what she said? That's not what she said. Is that correct?
She stated that she went to the apartment to get Malaysia out of the apartment.
Okay,
But to clarify, she didn't specifically state that that apartment belonged to Malaysia. That statement was not provided.
Correct.
Okay, just to clarify. So to get Malaysia out of the apartment, not to get Malaysia out of Malaysia's apartment.
Correct.
Okay, all right. So it's the first thing. I wanted to clarify that because that's important. Did you assist in the arrest of Miss Parker or Miss Dennis at all?
I only took custody of Miss Parker while she was being detained.
Okay, did you interview, take custody of Miss Dennis at all at any time?
I did not.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Officer Irwin, when you took custody of Miss Parker, was she pulling away from you in any way?
When I went to go pat her down for weapons, she was kind of squirming away, pulling away.
Did you put the handcuffs on her, or was she already handcuffed? when you got to her?
She was already handcuffed.
Do you know who handcuffed her?
I did not.
Okay. But you took essentially possession of her at that time?
Correct.
And what did you do with her after you got possession, after you took over her?
I had her sit on a curb near the parking lot because there was no available exit.
Did she make any attempt to walk away from you or get up and run or anything along those lines?
She did not.
When you asked her for her identification, she provided it to you?
She did.
When you asked her questions, she answered your questions, is that true?
She did.
So is it fair to say she cooperated with pretty much everything you asked her to do?
That is fair to say.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Officer Irwin, my name is David Carter. I represent Mrs. Clinton in this matter. I'm going to ask you just a few questions. If there's a question you don't understand, please let me know and I'll try to rephrase that. Fair enough?
Sir?
Did you get an opportunity to review your police report before you took the stand today?
I did.
And how soon, how soon did you review that before you came to testify?
I don't know, about a half hour.
Okay, out in the hall, I'm assuming,
Yeah.
correct?
Yep.
Okay. You indicated that Miss Parker said that at no time anybody gave them permission to enter the apartment. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
That's what you testified today, correct?
Correct.
Are you doing that by memory or by how you read your police report?
By memory.
Okay, because in the police report, that isn't what you said, is it?
I'm not certain of my wording in the police report.
I thought you had reviewed it.
I did.
Okay, it's only what, 3 paragraphs long, correct?
About that.
Okay, if I showed you the police report, would that refresh your memory of how that conversation went down?
It would.
May I approach the witness?
absolutely.
Want to go ahead and read this, actually the very last sentence there on that first paragraph.
So Parker advised that at no point in time were they invited to the apartment.
They were, actually, Ms. Parker didn't say that they didn't have permission, that just that they weren't invited, isn't that correct?
That is correct.
And as far as you don't know who actually owns that apartment, and is that correct?
That's correct.
And you don't know whether or not anybody had given anybody permission to enter that apartment, isn't that correct?
That's correct.
And you just know that when they were there, they weren't invited in, correct?
Correct.
Did you actually go into the apartment at all?
I did not.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Any redirect?
None, no. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a sequestration order, Officer Irwin, so you're not to discuss your testimony with any other witness. Thank you. You can call your next witness.
Your Honor, it would be possible to take 2 to 5 minutes, so I can just consult with the victim one more time to see if we're ready to go back on the record with her testimony.
Absolutely. Do we have another officer?
I am looking into that as well.
Primarily is Officer Hall here.
I'm trying to get him here.
Trying to
If
get
he's
him
not, if he's not here in accordance with the court's timeline, of course, I understand.
The court's timeline was at 1:30,
I understand, Your Honor.
and he's the most essential officer to this case.
And I'm hoping he's here very soon.
Oh,
But if, with the court's permission, may I just consult with the victim, see if
Absolutely.
we're ready to go on the record? Thank you.
I'll give you 5 minutes. Witness. So, where's Yolanda?
I'm right here.
You can walk her through, no, walk her through chambers. That means the other way around. Okay, we're back on the record. Ms. Love is taking the stand. Ms. Love, I previously swore you under oath, and you are still under oath, okay?
Yes.
Okay, counsel, you can proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. All right. So, thank you for being back with us. Last we were on the record, we had identified 4 people who you said were at your house on December 10th, 2024. I don't think we got to the point, though, where we were able to explain to the court what those 4 people did when they first arrived at your door on December 10th. Do you remember? Is that a yes?
Yes.
Can you explain to the court what you remember those 4 people doing when they first came to your house?
He knocked on the door. Well, he knocked on the window.
And by he, you're indicating Mr. Kajar over here at the end of council table? Okay, thank you.
He knocked on the window, and then, oh yeah, I was trying to get my kids to the room. But I already knew like what was bound to happen. So I was trying to get my kids to the room, and then they kicked the door in. And they and I'm not talking trying to take me and stuff. And then I'm not gonna lie, I was on the phone and stuff. My mom was going at me. We were all going at me, her going at it. And then I don't think I didn't initially see her. I don't even,
By her, you mean this individual here?
yes,
Okay.
I didn't even initially see her even come in there, so I don't even know what
And for the record,
part when she even, I didn't even like acknowledge her, like when it first all happened, I didn't initially see her. I didn't initially see her.
okay, and just for the record, the witnesses indicating Ms. Parker.
So
Um,
noted.
So, so you're saying you didn't notice her in the house
Mm-mm.
initially?
Yeah,
Okay, let's back up just a moment. So you said that somebody had knocked on the window and you identified Mr. Kajar here. Is the reason you identified Mr. Kajar, is that because you could see him knocking on the window?
yes,
Okay. You could see his face while he was knocking on the window? Did he say anything to you while he was knocking on the window?
bitch, open the door. You gotta get the truck. I'm about to leave, and then his mom started calling all crazy and yelling and stuff. So they're like, kick the door and go back home. Going everything, mom and the daughter.
So at this point, we're still at the front door. And when you said,
Is that a yes?
Yes, my bad.
and when you said they kicked the door in, are you referring to the front door that is kicked in?
Yes,
And by they, were you able to see who kicked the door in?
Yeah.
And you could see who it was because you could see them at the door once the door was kicked in?
Mhm.
Can you identify which individual it was you saw at the door when it was kicked in?
Mhm.
That's Mr. Kajar. And prior to him kicking in the door, you indicated that he had said, "Let me in." Do you remember saying that? Is that a yes? Did you say you were going to let him in? Is that a no?
Yes,
Yes, that's a no.
yes, oh, sorry,
And
yes.
It's okay. Were you asked to open the door by anybody?
They banged on the door, but of course I'm not gonna open the door, so like banging at the door, and my kids is running around.
Right. In fact, you said, I think your testimony was that you had tried to get your kids
Yeah, I
out of the
was trying to
living
get
room.
my kids and stuff.
So at any point prior to the door being kicked open, did you open the door for anybody?
Mm-mm.
Is that a no?
Yes, I was gonna-
Did you tell anybody that you were going to let them in?
no,
Did you say anything to the people outside banging on the door?
yes,
What did you say to them?
they're trying to open the window, and I was like, I'm gonna leave anyways. And then they were just yelling back in.
What did you mean by I was fixing to leave anyways?
No, so remind you, I just came back from my baby doctor's appointment, so I was already planning on leaving.
Okay.
I was getting our stuff, so I was already planning on leaving. And like I told them before they kicked the door in, I said, I'm leaving.
Okay. Did you see, and you said you didn't initially see the defendant Parker. Did you see her at all inside the
Yeah,
apartment?
after the fact that I was in the bathroom when I was coming out, that's when I see.
So it's fair to say then you didn't see her enter. You saw her after she was already
Yeah,
inside.
she was already inside, and it was already like commotion between all of them going on, so I didn't initially see her. I don't know. I didn't
Understood.
initially-
So you did not see how she entered the
Yeah,
apartment?
I did not see.
Okay. But when you saw her, did you interact with her in any way?
Mm-mm. Well, the police was coming through the back door. I initially seen her, and I was just looking. I mean, she didn't say nothing. I didn't say nothing. So
Oh, so you saw her.
I was already like mad in the midst of like I was in the room with my kids when I seen her, but the police officers already coming into the door,
I see.
like the back door. I don't know. It's weird how the house is shaped up, but he was coming through the back door and stuff, and then that's when I initially seen.
So you didn't notice her on the property until around the same time the police were there?
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. So then that answers the question that I'd asked. You did not interact with her then before the police were there? Okay.
Is that a yes?
Yes. Right.
That'd be a no, actually, correct? You did not interact with her?
No. we were not.
Did you interact physically with anybody once they came into the apartment?
No, I mean I had stuff in my hand, but other than that, it was more so like for her pushing. Other than that, nothing.
Her and her, that's defendant
And her mom.
Dennis
Yes. And her mom.
and her mom. And her mom's name. So that's Dennis and Dennis and Clinton. Yes, okay, thank you. And I think you said that they were shouting at you, is that correct?
Mhm.
Is that yes?
Yes. Or
It's okay, it happens,
Yes.
it happens frequently. So do you remember what it was they were shouting at you? It's okay, do you remember what she was shouting at you?
They was calling me a bad mom and calling me hoes and shit. I mean,
It's okay,
they was calling me names and stuff.
and then what did you do?
Like, and then after all the commotion, like I said, I was in a room, I locked the room door, and then that's when I was already on the phone, so when I went in there, we just basically shot out their door after that.
And you said you were in the room. Is
Mhm.
this the same room that you moved your children to earlier?
Yeah. Yes.
And you said you locked yourself in there with your children?
Mhm.
Is that a yes?
Yes, sorry.
And it's okay. And then while you were in the room, is that when you called the police?
It was kind of like after, yes, I did.
Okay,
After, well, I moved into the bathroom and then I called because I couldn't hear because they were all yelling in the background, moving stuff, and I don't know. I wasn't out there to see.
and when you say the bathroom, is this a bathroom that's connected to the
Yeah.
bedroom? Yes, okay. All right, Ms. Love. I have no further questions at this time.
Ms. Love, you never signed a rental application to reside at that apartment complex, correct?
Yes,
You never was on the lease to live at that apartment complex, correct?
yes,
And you were never on the lease as an authorized person to stay on that, in that apartment complex, is that
Yes.
correct? When you spoke to the police, isn't it correct that you gave them another address as your home address?
yes,
People who were on the lease at that apartment complex was the father of your
Mhm.
children. Said yes,
yes.
and his cousin.
Yeah, I guess. I don't,
Well, did
I'm
his
not
cou-
sure. I don't even know that that was his place. I don't know. I know.
Did his cousin live there?
Yes, he was there too.
Okay. And you went to that location
Mhm.
when temporarily, when you needed a place to stay,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes,
So
sir.
you knew that at least the father of your child stayed at that location.
Yes,
When the father of your child was taken by police on the night, correct?
yes.
Did he tell you to leave his apartment?
No,
And did his cousin tell you to leave his apartment?
no. He didn't come back there.
Who's he?
Father of the child.
You talking about?
Or his cousin.
Oh,
Neither of them came.
Well, do you know for sure that his cousin didn't come back there on the 10th?
Positive, because he went to jail on the night too.
So you are positive his cousin didn't come back on the 10th?
I'm positive he went to jail when my baby daddy went to jail.
Do you know when the father of your child was arraigned on these alleged domestic violence charges?
Objection, Rollins.
I assume we're gonna get into authority to enter, and it's gonna be our position that the father of your child was not arraigned till almost a few weeks later. Therefore, there was no court order prohibiting him from having any contact with her or that location, and thus no court order preventing him from getting other people to enter that location.
okay. Objections overruled.
If you know, do you know when he was arraigned on those?
As in from the incident that happened on the night?
Yeah.
No.
No further questions, John.
Ms. Love, my name is Joseph. If you need me to rephrase or slow down, please let me know. Just to have a few questions. Mr. Johnson asked you a few questions about the lease already. So did you pay any rent at all there?
I was giving him money because I was working at that time.
Okay. Just to verify, you weren't a sublease or anything on the
No.
contract, okay? And earlier you had said that they were living there, your baby daddy and the cousin. Do you know who was actually on the lease, or are you not sure about that?
I started paying the utility bill, so I only know about my baby daddy being on it.
Okay.
That's what I said.
So you're not familiar with that?
Yeah, paying
Okay.
the utility.
Okay. And earlier your testimony was that you had been staying there since about October, is that correct?
Yes,
Did you guys attempt to get you added onto the lease at all at any time?
no,
Okay. Were your children on the lease?
no.
No. Okay. earlier you had said they stated that when they were knocking on the door or on the window, you were gonna leave anyways.
Yes,
Do you mean leave permanently or just leave for the
yes,
day?
um,
Leave permanently?
yes.
Okay, so you're planning to leave permanently
Because
anyways.
why would I stay in his house and he just
So-
went to jail?
All right, so. You had said you were on the phone a few times during this incident.
Yes,
You had said you had called the police. Were you on the phone with anybody else during the incident?
yes.
Okay, can you tell us who those people were?
I was on the phone. I was on a group call with my cousin and my friend Shy.
And do you know your cousin's name?
Mook,
Mook, is that a nickname or they wrote Mook?
it's a nickname.
Okay, do you know their real name?
Khalil,
Khalil, can you spell that?
Khalil,
And you know Khalil's last name?
Hawk, HAWK.
And you said Shy. Do you know Shy's real name?
Cheyenne Mansfield.
Cheyenne, CHEYENNE,
SHAYA.
SHAYANNE. Okay, Cheyenne Mansfield, MENSFIELD.
Yes, Mansfield.
Okay, thank you. And you were on a group call with them during this whole incident? And when you lock yourself in, you say you had locked yourself in the bedroom, were you still on that group call at that point?
No,
No?
I was off.
You're off, okay. Did you start receiving mail at that location yet?
No,
Okay, was mail still going to the other address you provided?
no, it was going to my, the address on my ID.
On your ID? Okay.
Yes.
So you had a address on your ID, is that correct?
Mhm.
And then you gave another address as well as a 3122 address. So at that time you had 3 different addresses,
31. Mhm.
3122. So at that point, did you have 3 different addresses?
No, the address that I gave the police prior to that was the same one on my,
Sorry, I didn't know the answer. It was what?
Repeat your answer.
I said the same address that I gave the police is the same one that's on my ID.
And that's where the mail was.
Mail address, yeah.
Okay, so just 2 addresses total then.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to clarify. That. Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Ms. Love? You testified that Mr. Sanders did live at this address, correct?
Yes, it was-
And during your time that you had stayed there, had he invited people over there?
No,
Would you dispute the fact that Mr. Sanders had the ability to invite people over to his apartment?
yes,
You're saying he can do that, is what you're saying?
yes, that's his apartment. That's all.
And he had the right to invite people over to his
Yes.
apartment? Yeah, okay, you testified that you never saw Miss Parker come into your apartment, correct? Or into the apartment in question. And then you stated that you went into the bedroom and closed the door. Does the door have a window on it, or is this a solid
It's like
bedroom
the,
door?
so basically, when I opened it, she was standing there like walking out. Police was already coming in the back. So I had to open the door. They had already knocked on the door. Then I opened it. And I said,
Okay, so you
She
see
didn't
her
say anything.
kind of
yeah. I didn't
going out the
see how
door,
she came
going
in.
out the
Yeah,
door
I
essentially?
didn't see her coming in.
Okay, so you never really saw her in the apartment, but
Yeah,
you saw
come
her
in.
kind of on the
Yeah.
door going out
Yeah,
when the police arrived. And she was not shouting at you to your knowledge?
Sorry.
I'm going to ask you a series of questions. If there's a question you don't understand, please let me know and I'll try to rephrase that. Fair enough? All right. Now, it's my understanding that your testimony is that you were staying at this apartment, Mr. Sanders' apartment,
yes,
since October, correct?
yes,
And that was your everyday spot?
yes, unless I was at work.
Okay. What address did you live at before that?
62, Grovenberg, I think. 6215 Grovenberg, my bad, because I just moved it back on that street.
All right. And that was your address,
Yes.
correct? And that's on your ID, correct?
And no, 6256 South Washington. That's on my address, on my ID.
I'm sorry?
That's on my ID,
Your ID is what address?
the 6256. I never got it switched over to my new address when I lived at 6215. So everything go to my dad's house.
Okay, so there is 3 addresses.
But I never gave that address, the 6215, to anybody. So,
You never gave 6215 Grovenberg to anybody?
no, that's the house I lived in before then. So,
Okay, and you never gave that to Officer Hall?
mm-mm.
All right. And it's your testimony,
I've been moved out of there.
okay, when you say you've been moved out of there, I don't know what that means.
I moved out of 6215 probably August, around August. So there was
Okay.
no-
You received Section 8 housing, correct?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, where was the Section 8 housing money going to? What address was it going to?
6215
Okay, and when was it, when did it stop going there?
in August.
August of what?
I'm not sure.
Prior to this?
Yes.
Okay, so Section 8's going to a different address in August.
Mhm.
Okay, when you left that address in August,
Mhm.
did you still receive Section 8?
Mm-mm, no,
Okay, so you didn't receive any Section 8 after that. All right.
Okay, just for my clarity, 6215 was that the Grovenberg? Or-
Yes.
Okay.
Now, you admit that this is Mr. Sanders' apartment, correct?
yes,
And when he got arrested the night before, on the 9th, or the day before, on the
Mhm.
9th, had you had any communication with him prior to the 10th?
no,
All right. You were pretty upset with Mr. Sanders, weren't you? And you know Miss Clinton to be his mother, correct?
yes,
And isn't it true you went either on social media or text that you were going to destroy the property inside the apartment?
at his apartment?
Yeah,
No,
you didn't text anybody that?
no.
You did-
Oh, I texted, yes, I did. I
Okay.
texted Quentin that, yes,
You're under oath, right?
yes, I
You-
texted, yes, I texted Quentin that.
Okay, that you were gonna destroy property in that apartment,
Mhm.
isn't that correct?
Yes,
All right. Do you know if Mr. Sanders found that out?
no, I'm not sure.
And you don't know if Mr. Sanders told somebody, get to the apartment, secure it, I don't want my stuff ruined by this woman?
I'm not sure,
You're not sure,
no,
but it's Mr. Sanders' apartment, right?
yes,
And you went out and made threats about destroying property in there, isn't that correct?
oh, wait, you talking about, I made threats about the apartment the night, I didn't do any of that until after the,
Oh, after the 10th?
yeah, I didn't do that until after. the
So
10th.
if there's a text out there that is prior to that, that would be untrue?
Yes, because I didn't
All right.
text anybody about that house until after this initial attack.
And do you have a history of destroying property when you're mad at somebody?
No,
Not with Mr. Sanders?
no,
Okay, earlier today, you said you were upset because of something that happened earlier in the day, isn't that
Yes.
correct? And you indicated that somebody related to this case and because of this case came over to your house to
Yes.
intimidate you, isn't that correct?
yes,
And that there was a fight, isn't that correct?
yes,
Matter of fact, you posted something on social media about that, isn't that correct?
yes,
And it's actually about a beef you had with somebody that had nothing to do with this case, isn't that correct?
wait, no.
No?
You said that has nothing to do with this case?
Yeah.
No. Oh, yeah, I did get into somebody today too.
Oh, so you got involved with somebody 2
I never
times today?
The other person. I
Pardon?
just went at it with that person.
Well, who was this?
That
other-
was, this other person is my cousin. That person that I'm arguing with on the internet is my cousin.
You have a anger issue, don't you, ma'am?
wouldn't say
Well, you constantly post stuff about you beating up people or getting involved with people, isn't that correct?
that. Yes, I do have a history of fighting.
And Mr. Sanders knows that, isn't that
Yes.
correct?
Very-
Do you know what happened with Mr. Sanders' domestic violence case?
No,
Did you ever go to court to testify?
no.
Were you ever subpoenaed to testify?
Mm. Oh, yes, I did.
Did you ever honor that subpoena? Is that a no?
No,
Okay, I think earlier today also,
I'm sorry, there, just before the witness answered no to that, there was another answer I didn't quite hear. I'm sorry.
Answer as to a question.
Could counsel ask the question again? And
I
allow the
don't
witness
remember
to-
the question.
He asked if she had came to court on the domestic violence. He asked
I
what
think that
going
was
on,
the-
and if she came to court, and then if she was subpoenaed, if she honored the subpoena.
I think it was the question on whether or not the witness came to court. I didn't hear the witness's answer. I'm
Can
sorry.
you respond to that question, ma'am?
that comes first. Yes.
Oh, you did come to court for that one? Do you know what happened with that case? All right. Earlier today, you testified also that you were unhappy because the police brought you to court today. Is that
I was
correct?
escorted
You were,
for Miss Chastity.
I'm sorry, you were escorted? What does that mean? How were you
Like,
escorted? They
I
go to
was
your,
like, well, go ahead.
did they go to your house and escort you here in a car?
Yeah, I'm just, I'm gonna place an objection based on relevance, just to give counsel a chance to explain for the record why this line of questioning is relevant.
Thank you. Objections overruled. Goes to credibility.
Thank you, Your Honor. Did they come to your house and escort you here?
Miss Chastity and officer,
Came to your house and escorted you here?
yes,
Did they do that with your other subpoena?
no,
All right, so,
the police just came.
all right, did you tell somebody you weren't gonna come and testify? Is that a no?
Yes, definitely.
Is there a reason why they thought that maybe you wouldn't come and you needed an escort?
Oh, probably because of the incident that happened.
Okay. And that incident earlier today, correct? Did
Yeah.
you name people and why you thought they were involved in this case?
You know,
Why not?
because I was too mad and I wanted them to get out my face.
Okay, and can you tell me who those people are now?
As in that cleaner,
Yeah, who showed up at your house? Who was causing you all this stress?
Princess, her people, you know, her people, I don't know them like that.
Well, well, if you don't know, say you don't know, but,
Oh, I don't know. I only knew one person.
okay. And did you post that on social media too?
Yes,
The whole incident?
yes, because my friend, she posted it too, and she was fighting obviously too.
And forgive me if I asked this, but I got sidetracked, but when Mr. Sanders got arrested on the 9th, you had not talked to him.
No.
Uh, Okay, when's the next time you talked to Mr. Sanders? Okay, so you don't know if Mr. Sanders told anybody to go secure that apartment, correct?
He didn't bring any of that up.
Pardon?
He didn't bring any of that up.
Now, you indicated that you testified and that you were, I'm going to leave anyway. That was your response to somebody who wanted you to leave the apartment. Do you remember testifying to that?
Yes,
Okay. And isn't it true that these people were saying, hey, you need to get out of here. You're not supposed to be here. This is Sanders' apartment. Isn't that correct?
yes,
All right. And your response was, I was going to leave anyways. Isn't that
Yes.
correct? All right. So this thing about, well, I was getting the kids because I had a doctor's appointment, that's kind of secondary also, isn't that correct?
we was getting back from the doctor.
Okay. Oh, so you were coming?
Yes, I was coming back so I can get my stuff, so I can leave.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't like get your stuff to leave to go to a doctor. You came back
Yes,
from
I
it?
came back from the doctor's, because remind you, I left, I was gone that whole morning. My dad couldn't pick me up. I went to my baby doctor's appointment and stuff, and, oh, I was talking to the care program too a little bit that day. I went to my baby doctor's appointment, and the initial, when I went back there was to get my stuff into, please.
Okay. And where were you going?
I was gonna go to my dad's.
Okay, to stay with him.
Mhm,
All right.
yes.
Your Honor, I have nothing further.
Just briefly, Ms. Love, on December 10th, 2024, did you destroy any property at 3822 Wilson Avenue?
Yes.
You destroyed property there?
Mhm.
What did you destroy?
I knocked the TV over.
Okay. Did you cause any other damage to the apartment?
Once
that a
I
no?
seen that my TV was broken, that's when I broke his TV.
You broke. Okay, so you saw that your television was
Yes, I
damaged?
brought the initial TV there,
Okay,
and once I seen that, because I was gonna take it, once I seen that my TV was broken, I broke his TV.
okay. Were you contacted by police prior to these defendants coming to your house about any allegations of destroying property?
Yes.
How did that go with the police?
Basically asking like, what I told you, TV. Nothing else came about,
They didn't take you into custody?
nothing else came about.
Did you give them a statement when they were there?
Yes,
Okay. And then after giving them the statement about the damage to the televisions, did they look around the house?
yeah, they made me leave, so they only let me grab a couple stuff, and then the police made me leave.
This is before the defendants came to the house.
No, when you said, no, this is after,
Okay, let me back up.
I didn't bring the TV up after
Okay,
all of this.
so let's do this again. On December 10th of 2024, before the defendants you identified earlier came to the house and caused the interaction you described to the courts,
Mhm.
had you damaged any property
Oh,
in the
no.
house?
No,
Okay. Did the police contact you about any allegations of you breaking property in the house or the apartment
after that,
before this?
oh, no,
So prior to the defendants themselves coming to the apartment, you were not contacted
I
about,
know, no.
about anybody? No further questions.
May this witness be excused?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. You may be excused.
People have one final witness, Your Honor, that'd be Officer Douglas Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give is the truth and the whole truth under penalty of perjury.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. You can have a seat. If you can state your first and last name and spell both.
Officer Douglas Hall, DOUGLASHA.
You can proceed, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer Hall, can you tell the court with whom you are currently employed, sir?
City of Lansing,
How long have you been employed with Lansing Police Department?
approximately 12 years.
And what are your current responsibilities with Lansing? Police
I work road patrolmanship,
Okay. And what are some of the things you have to do on road patrol, sir?
respond to routine calls.
Were you working this capacity on December 10th of 2024, sir?
I was,
Do you recall being dispatched to a location 3822 Wilson Avenue,
yes.
City of Lansing, County of Hingham?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell the court what you recall about that dispatch?
It was a dispatch call about a home invasion in progress.
And did you go to that address, sir?
I did.
What did you observe when you arrived?
So on the way to the call, another officer was able to pull up city cameras from the parking lot of the apartment complex. Rewind the tapes and see that there was a silver.
Objection, Your
Impala.
Honor. Lack of foundation, lack of personal knowledge. Did he observe this or did another officer observe this?
The officer was in the middle of describing, viewing this footage, Your Honor. So the officer was testifying, having personal knowledge of the footage he was looking at.
The objections overruled.
I'm sorry, Officer Hall. So can you continue, please?
So it was Officer Vanderworth was the one that pulled up the video and relayed the information that the accused subjects.
Objection, Your Honor. Renew my objection.
Okay, that's not,
So-
about what he viewed.
Well, at this point, this is not hearsay because it's not being offered for truth of the matter.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Objections overruled.
So Officer Vanderworth called your attention to this video, sir.
Yes, sir.
What did you do next?
I made contact with the vehicle that was in the parking lot. Subject showed up.
Did you see this video you were talking about?
I did not see the video. Information was relayed to me by Officer Vanderworth.
So there is all right, so we'll move on. So there's a vehicle in the parking lot of this apartment.
Yes, sir.
All right. And why was this vehicle relevant to you, sir?
Officer Vanderwerf described that vehicle was among several subjects.
Objection.
At this point, this is not being offered for the truth of the matter asserted. It is merely offering foundation for why the officer did what he's about to do next.
And if what he's about to do next is detain Mr. Kajar, then it is being offered for the truth of the matter asserted if it goes to his reasonable suspicion.
Officer hasn't
or
had a
probable
chance.
cause.
Officer has not had a chance to testify about what he did when he approached the car. He did not testify that he arrested Mr. Kajar. He did not identify Mr. Kajar by name. He did not, we haven't gotten that far yet, Your Honor.
But he's already testified that he approached the car. He approached the car for a reason. That reason is based upon hearsay and lack of personal knowledge.
And we have not yet established anything that's happened since he approached the car, Your Honor. This is not hearsay.
So you want me to let him to respond first before we can establish what he did in the approach?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'll hold your objection in abeyance.
Thank you, Your Honor. So you were alerted to this vehicle,
Yes, sir.
and did you approach this vehicle?
I did.
What did you observe when you got to this vehicle?
I made contact with the driver of the vehicle. He was sitting in the front seat. Driver.
Did you interact with the driver?
I did very briefly.
Can you say very briefly?
Yes, sir.
Why just briefly?
I was actually approached by Mr. Kajar, who advised me that I was looking for the apartment down the sidewalk, which was 30.
I'm sorry, can you say that? So Mr. Kajar advised you that you were looking for that apartment?
Yes, sir. I was making contact with the driver of the vehicle. Mr. Kajar was walking something to the trash bin that was nearby in the parking lot. As he was walking back, he told me and pointed, saying, "You're looking for that apartment down."
Interesting. Now you identified this person by name. How did you know? At some point, did you identify this person's name?
Yes, sir.
How did you do that, sir?
After the fact, obtaining his information and running him to our system.
Okay. And how did you obtain his information?
He was under arrest at that point. Later on.
So did you ask him or did you get it from his ID? How did you get his name?
I don't recall. I believe possibly he had an ID on, or he provided it.
Were you able to confirm his ID at any point?
Yes,
How did you do that, sir?
through Lean and through up at the jail.
Okay. And so this person you interacted with then through your investigation, you were able to determine and confirm that this was a Mr. Kajar.
Yes.
Can you point to this person?
It's sitting there.
I should have first asked if you see him in court today.
Yes, I did.
Okay. And then I think you indicated the gentleman sitting at the end of the council table.
Yes.
Your Honor, with record reflect ID.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
So noted.
Okay, so let's back up then. So this is before you had confirmed the ID, but we're at the point where Mr. Kajar is telling you which apartment you're looking for.
Yes.
What did you do then?
I told him to come back to me, trying to prevent him from walking back to the apartment until we could figure out exactly what was going on.
Okay, and then, okay, so you said to figure out exactly what was going on.
Yes, sir. He was being detained.
Okay, and to be clear, not with respect to what happens next, but at that moment, when you say step, I think you said step to me, sir?
Yes.
At that moment, did you intend to put Mr. Kajar in handcuffs?
No.
Okay, because you said he was being detained, but in this context, what do you mean by detained?
Just that he's not free to leave to go back to the apartment or to go back to where he was coming from. Given the totality of the circumstances, I arrive on scene, he immediately tells me, you're looking for this apartment down here. That led me to believe that he was somehow involved in the situation.
Okay. And is this why you wanted to talk to him then?
Absolutely.
Naturally. Okay, so when you asked him to come to you, what happened next?
He became defiant, said, no, I don't recall exactly what was said. Eventually, I had to approach him. And at that point, that's when I went to detain him.
Did you say anything to him as you approached?
I don't recall what I said. I was interacting with him.
Did you want to search him?
At that time, I was just trying to get him to keep him from going back to the residence where our victim was located.
Did you attempt to search him at any time?
It was not until after the fact. Everything moved pretty quick. Once he started backing away from me, I grabbed onto him. Getting him in the handcuffs was a struggle.
Okay. And so, okay, at this point now you're saying we wanted to put him in handcuffs. And so what's the reason for this?
For the resistant behavior and for not complying with commands.
Okay. And so how does putting him in handcuffs help the situation?
Well, you have to understand, I'm a single officer out there. I have the driver, I now have Mr. Kajar, and I'm by myself. High crime area responding to a home invasion call. So at that time, it was going to be the safest for me to put Mr. Kajar in.
Okay, so this was an officer safety concern.
Absolutely.
And you just said something that's interesting. Were you the first on scene?
I was.
Were you followed up? Was anybody, do you recall seeing anybody else arrive after you?
Oh, yeah, there was more officers that arrived. We actually ended up calling for more units, and unfortunately, no units were available. They come to 6.
Are you able to guess or give a best estimate as to how long after you arrived on scene other officers followed on?
I was tied up, occupied with 2 subjects. I don't feel comfortable in this time frame. Attention was diverted.
So in that moment, were you aware of any other officers on scene as you were trying to?
No, I was aware that there was no other officers.
So as far as you were concerned, you were alone in that moment?
Absolutely.
Okay. When you arrived on scene, how did you get to the scene?
In a patrol vehicle.
Is this a marked patrol vehicle?
It is.
And it's marked Lansing Police Department?
Yes.
How were you dressed at the time?
In full uniform and such.
The uniform that you're wearing now?
Yes, sir.
When you arrived on scene, did you identify yourself as a police officer?
I don't recall if I did. I think it was pretty apparent based on the police vehicle and my clothing that I was a police officer.
And I think you testified to that this person approached you to give you information about where
Yes, sir.
things were. So, okay. How were you able to get Mr. Kajar into handcuffs? Do you recall?
Basically using the vehicle that I was originally contacting the driver of, it was forced to pin him up against there and basically push him onto the car in order to get him.
And were you assisted by anybody?
I don't believe so. Maybe at the very, very end. I don't recall if another officer came.
Once Mr. Kajar was placed in handcuffs, do you remember what happened with him next?
We walked him to a patrol car where he was placed in the back seat.
Did you take a statement from him?
I did not at that time. There were several more people. Mr. Kajar was yelling, screaming for people's names. Several more subjects came from the area of the victim's apartment. So at that time, we were trying to detain everybody coming from that area, from that location.
Did you interact with any other individuals at that location?
I did with the victim later on, yes.
When you were interacting with the victim, did you learn anything that made you concerned whether or not she was there lawfully?
No.
Did you? Did you observe any damage to the property?
It looked like there was some screens pulled out. I don't recall if there was damage to the door. And there was like a pile of things in the middle of the kitchen. It looked like we're being swept out.
You say you don't recall whether or not there was damage to the door. Which door are we talking about?
Well, the windows were out of the front.
Okay.
So actually there was damage to the front door where the screens were torn out of the windows. The frame was cracked.
Okay. So this is the front door that we're talking about?
Yes.
And was the door open or closed when you arrived on scene? Do you recall?
I don't recall.
But you saw a cracked frame? I think.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Officer Hall, thank you very much. No further questions at this time.
Officer Hall, when you arrive on scene, you're going to this silver car, and Mr. Kajar tells you that you're looking for the apartment, and he points that direction.
Yes, sir.
That time, did you see Mr. Kajar engage in any criminal activity?
No, sir.
Did you have any reason to believe he had been inside the house?
Given that he was pointing me in that direction, totality of the circumstances suggested that he was somehow involved.
Okay, but you didn't have any information that he engaged in criminal activity when you told him not to leave?
At that time, no. I think that's what the investigatory detention was for.
No good question.
I need to follow up. What do you mean when you say the totality of the circumstances would suggest that he was involved? What was the totality?
Based on
Other
that we're
than-
responding to the home invasion, he's coming from that area, and then he tells me, you're looking for this apartment down. So everything all mixed together.
Could the totality suggest that he was a neighbor?
It possibly could have. That's what I was trying to detain him for to figure out.
Could the totality suggest that he was a roommate there?
That I wouldn't know that, Your Honor.
But I'm just asking, would it, could have suggested that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so, because your statement was a totality suggested that he was involved. And I'm wondering if there's something more than him just pointing and saying, this is what you're looking for, as to what caused you to believe that he was involved.
No, ma'am. He was pointing towards the apartment where the home invasion occurred.
Okay,
And the victim calling 911 advised that there were several subjects who had kicked the door and made entry into the house.
okay, sounds good. Oh, one more question though. Typically though, if you, in your experience, if people engage in criminal activity like kicking doors in, do they later stay and show the officers where the location of the
It
crime is?
varies from case
Is
to
that
case.
typical?
Varies from case to case. I would not say that is typical.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer Hall, my name is Joseph. If you need me to rephrase, please. Did you search the home at all?
I did not.
You did not? So, your only subsequent investigation was to speak to, Mr. Love, is that correct?
The victim.
Okay, and did you do that inside the house, outside the house? Where did you speak?
Inside of it.
Inside the house, okay. Did you verify leaseholders, anything of that nature during that conversation?
Yes.
Okay. And at the end of this conversation, were you the one that asked her to leave the home, or did she decide to leave the home on her own?
I suggested that it might be best that she leave for the night, given the amount of threats and everything. There was another crowd forming outside of the house, threatening to physically assault her.
Okay, and were any of those other individuals that were in that crowd, were they detained at all as being part of this?
No, at that time, we did not have the units for that. We were short-staffed. There was no officers there.
Okay, all right, no further questions, Your Honor.
Officer, would you previously testified that you originally went to the silver vehicle after speaking with Officer Vanderworth, is that correct?
Yes,
But weren't you the first officer on scene at that point?
I was.
Okay, so I guess, how did Officer Vanderwerf have the opportunity to review this video prior to you?
That I'm not sure. I believe you can pull up the state cameras right on the in-car computer.
Okay, so Officer Vanderwerf was on scene prior to you having contact with Mr. Kajar?
He was en route to the scene, driving to the scene,
Did you have contact with Mr. Kajar, or did you go to the silver car first?
went to the silver car first.
I guess I don't see it, because I thought you got that information from Officer Vanderwerf.
Correct.
Was that over the radio?
Yes,
Okay, so that's over the radio.
yes.
So Officer Vanderwerf may have been present reviewing something, but
He was not present on scene. He was en route to the scene, driving to the scene. Watching the city surveillance cameras.
So so you believe he was watching city surveillance cameras on the way to the place?
Yes, sir.
And you can do that while en route driving?
He had a partner with him that
He had a partner.
that approved it.
All right, you have no further questions at this time?
Officer Hall, my name is David Carter. I represent Ms. Clinton in this matter. I'm going to ask you a series of questions. If there's a question you don't understand, please let me know and I'll try to rephrase that. Fair enough?
Yes, sir.
You indicated that you never checked about a lease who had authority to be in that apartment, correct?
No, sorry.
But you did find out that it was Sanders' home, isn't that correct? His apartment?
Yes.
And did you hear from, and I don't, did you hear from anybody that Miss Love wasn't supposed to be in there?
I don't recall.
You don't recall.
I don't recall.
So that's a possibility. Somebody told you that Miss Love wasn't supposed to be there, isn't that correct?
I do not recall.
So it's a possibility, isn't that
Yes, it would
correct?
be a possibility.
Okay, did you interview any neighbors?
I did not.
Did any neighbors volunteer any information?
I don't recall.
Was there any neighbors around?
That I do not know.
Did you review any of your police reports or body cams before you came to court today?
I reviewed my official reports.
But not your body cam, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Did you ever interview Miss Clinton?
I did not.
Did any information come to you regarding that the people thought that Miss Love was destroying items inside the apartment?
I do not recall.
Okay. So that's a possibility.
That could be a possibility.
Did any information come available to you that Mr. Sanders gave permission for his mother to go to this to secure that apartment?
No, I don't believe so.
You don't believe so. How many people did you talk to?
Talked to briefly Kajar and the victim.
Those were the only two people then?
Yes.
You never talked to neighbors or
No,
anybody?
sir. There was no other.
Thank you. I have nothing for you.
Hey, redirect.
Just briefly, based on the court's question to you, I think it was fair to ask, because the question that I had asked with respect to why you wanted to speak with Defendant Kajar, your answer was because he pointed out the residence. Your answer was that you felt he was involved. So that's a term of phrase that could have several meanings. So, but in this circumstance, by someone who was involved, did you mean that this was someone who you thought was a party to a crime that had been committed, a party present who could provide information about what was happening, or did you have any way of being able to ascertain the difference?
Compound question. You want to break those down for him?
I can't. Your Honor. Did you understand the question?
Yes.
So did you believe, or did you have any reason to believe that he was a person who had committed the crime that we were dispatched for?
Not at the time, no. I literally made contact with him, pointed it out. Knew that there was several subjects involved. At that time, I did not know if he was potentially another victim, witness, anything like that.
So then in order for the record to be clear, your sole reason for wanting to speak to him then would be to try to ascertain what he knew about the situation, how it might help your investigation?
To obtain information. Yes.
Thank you, officer. No further questions.
So I have a question. You were the lead officer, correct?
I was the first officer there.
No, my question was, you the lead officer? 'Cause I use that term specifically for a reason. Were you the lead officer on this investigation?
I guess I don't understand what a lead officer would be.
That's terms that's been used in here by other officers, that you were the lead officer, because there's questions that I asked them that I was told I need to ask the lead officer, and that you were the lead officer.
I would be the primary officer, the first one there that took the majority of the report.
Okay, my questions are specifically as to what was the investigation that you did to determine whether or not a home invasion occurred?
I met with the victim, who advised that she had been living there and then went from there.
She said that she had been living there and what? Went from there, you said?
You could see the residence, which she had kids inside the house. You could see there was kids' toys, things like that.
Her items, do you see any of her items there?
I don't recall seeing anything specifically like of hers.
Okay. Any cross or redirect to my question?
No, thank you.
I do, thank you, Your Honor. So the only investigation you did to determine whether a home invasion was is talking to Miss Love.
Yes,
And through that conversation, you discovered that Mr. Sanders lived there, isn't that correct?
correct.
Did you decide to go and check on to see if Miss Love had authority to be there, such
No.
as check the lease office?
No, sir, I did not.
Did you assign an officer of that?
No, sir.
You've heard of the term trust but verification, correct?
No, sir.
Oh, you've never heard that? Okay, so you didn't do anything to verify what Miss Love had told you, is that correct?
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Any redirect based on that?
When you interviewed Miss Love, you learned about a Mr. Sanders, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And what did you learn about Mr. Sanders?
He was arrested the night prior, domestic violence charge with her.
Thank you.
There's a sequestration order, so you're not to discuss any portions of your testimony with any other witness. Other than that, Officer Hall, you're free to go. Any other witnesses?
No further witnesses for the people, Your Honor. People arrested.
Okay, well, the court's gonna rest today too, because it's 4:54 and I have a meeting. And so you're gonna come back for argument.
I couldn't hear you.
I said the court's gonna adjourn today because it's 4:54 and I have a meeting. So you're gonna have to come back for argument and I don't know if the defense intend to call witnesses.
Not on behalf of Mr. Kajar, Your Honor.
On behalf of Ms. Dea Dennis.
And on behalf of this.
One more. I may be calling a witness, Your Honor.
Okay, so that's helpful so I can know how to reset it for potential witnesses and then obviously. Also that witness.
I'd like to thank the court for its patience today. with this case.
No problem. Outside of, I think, any of our control that we had some level of a hostile witness. I don't know, May 2nd is too early. It's May 2nd, good for you all. Maybe. Somebody's probably in trial. I'm sure.
Would that be in the morning or afternoon? I have a 4-hour prelim in Eaton County that will start at 8 o'clock.
We'll do a different,
Pardon?
we're gonna do a different day. May 15th work?
Is that 1-5?
Yes.
Okay, morning or afternoon?
I know I'm expecting to be in a murder trial starting on May 9th, unfortunately. So we're gonna-
Okay, so let me see. The May 2nd did work for everyone though?
Is it possible to do it in the afternoon to accommodate
In the
Mr. Carter?
afternoon?
Afternoon would work for me.
1:30. 1:30. May 2nd at 1:30. Any additional matters for today's record?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
On behalf of Ms. Dennis.
On behalf of Mr. Kajar.
Nothing for Ms. White.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Hey, what's the May 2nd?
Did you
No,
forget
no,
to check
no,
your-
the date, no, the date's fine. I was gonna ask actually about a transcript, just, but that's probably not enough time, so this.
Everybody have a good day.
Same to you.